Hello, and welcome to Talkin' Shop, a conversation with educational leaders. My name is Mike Randolph, and I'm the proud principal of the Leesburg High School, and we're joined by my co-host, Martin Aftuck, the proud principal of Middleburg High School. Martin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mike. How's your week going so far?
Oh my goodness, it's going great so far. You know, I love long weekends and short weeks, and that's what we had. Shout out to Labor Day for us. So again, we
Shout out
love
to
those
Labor Day.
weeks. Yes, absolutely. So we are joined today by one of my favorite guests that we've had on so far, Mrs. Kacy Wolfe, the assistant principal of Aurelia M. Cole Academy, Lake County's newest K-8 school. Miss Wolfe, Kacy, how is your year going so far?
My year is going amazing. Compared to last year opening up a new school first year, this year's cake so far.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are so excited to dive into that. We're so excited to dive into what it looks like opening up a new school as well. But really, I'm just excited to hear about your educational journey. I know that you are a Lake County thoroughbred. You went to school in Lake County. You graduated from Lake County schools. You taught in Lake County schools. You were a literacy coach in Lake County schools. Now you're serving as an assistant principal. So I'm really excited to launch into today's conversation. So Martin, why don't you kick us off with our first question?
So before we start, we got a big rivalry game this week, Mike, right? Rivalry week. We're not gonna. I told you I wasn't gonna. We're not gonna bring it up during the podcast, but I noticed you're wearing a different shade today.
Oh yes.
Very excited. It's a great week in Lake County and Clay County.
It is a great week.
For high school football. So
in Clay County, I know that it is Middleburg versus Clay High School week. So
correct.
Again, I'm excited for that rivalry.
Well, also,
as someone who has coached.
Lemon Oakley, there's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I'll say this: one of the best rivalries in Clay County is Middleburg versus Clay. That is an old school rivalry. That is old school football. I remember coaching against
many
Coach
years
Reed.
too. I agree.
Oh yeah, so we dived into that one. You know, for us here in Lake County, the oldest rivalry in Lake County actually happens this Friday here at the Leesburg High School when our Yellow Jackets host Eustis High School. So we're really excited to host Eustis. You know, we're looking forward to a good competitive game. And just
listen,
really,
if I can't make that game because I'll be at Middleburg High for our game, what are some ways I could see that? Perhaps.
Absolutely. So we are proud to have all of our games live streamed on Huddle, and we will also have the YouTube link available. So you can follow us at Leesburg HS on Instagram and Facebook, where we will have those links posted for you. But again, we would love for everyone, really, the best way to experience this rivalry is to come in person, right? But if you can't come in person, we will have the link. So
we don't have
shout
any
out to
online.
Huddle.
We're such a hot ticket. You have to go. Tickets available on GoFan app. $10.
Yes.
7 o'clock. We got a few things up our sleeves planned for Friday night, so we're excited about it. So, anyways,
Oh, yes.
back to our guest.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're selfless promoters.
Yes.
I love it.
So tell us kind of where you're at in your educational journey and how you've gotten there.
Okay, so I am in my third year as an assistant principal. I got here, I started teaching in Lake County as a fourth grade teacher at a school I actually went to school as a student the first year it opened, Lost Lake Elementary. And so I went there. Honestly, I had no intention of leaving the classroom. I didn't start education thinking I want out, I want to become an administrator. That really wasn't on my forefront. But I had the opportunity to work with a principal there who hired me at Lost Lake, who saw something in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. And I feel like that's kind of the story of my life, honestly, and encouraged me to get into educational leadership and go back to school. So anyways, I was there for a few years, and then I followed her to a different school in Region 1 within Lake County, Eustis Heights Elementary. And night and day as far as the student population and my experience. And it was there that I took her advice and got into educational leadership, and honestly had the most life-changing 9 years I spent there total. I was a fourth grade teacher there. Then I moved into the role of literacy coach for 4 years, and then I became their assistant principal And honestly, that school and the leaders that I've had the opportunity to learn from made all the difference and are the reason I'm in this position.
Absolutely. Who is that leader that you followed, by the way? Let's give a shout out to that
Yeah,
leader.
So her name is Rhonda Hunt. She retired a year after I followed her to Eustis Heights. But underneath her was Chad Frazier, who then became principal.
Ah,
And-
we met, yeah.
We know
Yeah.
Chad.
Yeah, so Chad Frazier, I had the opportunity to become his literacy coach and work for him for a few years. He was actually my assistant principal at Lost Lake when I started teaching. So I watched
cool.
him then go into that principal role, phenomenal. And then from there, Dr. Tiffany Scott took over. And I
Rock
was
star.
her literacy coach. Rock star. Just,
Absolute rock star.
oh, sorry. It's my office. There we go.
You're all good. Listen, that is real life as an administrator, right? And that's the perks of being at the new
Lights just
school.
Turn on. It's time.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll talk
Time to
about
go
that, perks of being at a new school.
Yeah, we have really nice lighting.
Yes.
No, so I worked for Dr. Tiffany Scott as her literacy coach, and just the definition of servant leadership, the absolute definition. I learned so much, and then when she left, Terry Seuss took over, and I was her assistant principal my first year. I say all that to say, I would 100% not be where I am without having worked with the best of the best in my mind. Just believes in their people, grows their people, loves their people, and it made all the difference for me.
Absolutely. And that's awesome. And again, some of the leaders that you talked about, again, Dr. Scott is outstanding. And again, when you talk about servant leadership, she displays that servant leadership on a daily basis. So can you talk about what made you choose to go into administration from being in the classroom, from being that literacy coach? Why administration?
That's a great question, because honestly, I love teaching. Like, still to this day, if I get the opportunity to pop in a classroom and do a lesson, I'm going to do it. And I loved being a literacy coach. I'm very passionate about literacy. I was hesitant, if you want the truth, to make that jump into administration, because I was so fulfilled being a teacher, and I was so fulfilled serving teachers as a literacy coach and students. But then I had just had the opportunity. Honestly, I just had people see something and believe and push me. Had they not pushed me, I'm not sure I would have. Because I wasn't sure I would be able to feel that impact. They told me you would, that on a larger scale, you'll still feel that impact. It's just on a larger scale. And they were absolutely right. But even accepting my first assistant principal position, if I'm honest, like, I was equal parts excited and really hesitant about wanting to do it.
Can I tell you how special that is, though, with you being a teacher and really invested in being a teacher and a professional teacher? That's so powerful. So sorry for cutting you off, Martin. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Tell me, every district's different. What does a literacy coach do in Lake County?
Yeah, so for a literacy coach in Lake County, my job was to support literacy for K through 5 on my campus. Majority of my job was spent coaching teachers. I attended all their collaborative plannings. I built relationships. I worked so hard to build those relationships with them, and honestly just helped grow their practice, and so that their students obviously had the best possible opportunity. But it really is coaching and providing that opportunity for teachers just to grow.
Absolutely. And I would love for you to expand upon how you've really tackled early childhood literacy, especially at your time, during your time at Eustis Heights. I know that you used to do not only just community visits with your staff, but you would also deliver books to your families as well. So can you talk about what strategies you use to tackle that early childhood literacy?
Yeah, to promote literacy is every single year we load all of our faculty and staff on a bus, first so they can see where our students come from, to give them that perspective so that when they can better serve their students in their classroom. But then we would bring books, and we would have preset routes, and we would pull up to these routes, and these are, just so many of them, our students would be there waiting for us so that we could deliver books. But just bringing those books to them in their homes, in their communities, to promote literacy so that it was happening not just within our walls, but they had also access to good books and reading.
providing access is so essential, especially at a Title I school. I'm very fortunate to work at a Title I school. I know Middleburg is not Title I, but if you know the demographics of Middleburg, it's a very unique mix of clientele there. And again, a beautiful clientele. But again, bringing literacy to our communities and to the parents as well is so important, because so often they don't have access to that literacy to provide for their students. So again, what a great strategy, and what a great pro tip, which we're going to get to a little bit later, another pro tip there. But another question that I had for you is, you talked about opening a new school, and you opened Lake County's second K-8 school last year. Talk about what that experience was like, first opening a school, and second opening Lake County's second K-8.
I'll explain why. It was beautiful because I actually, Aurelia M. Cole, who our school is named after, she was my principal in high school, and then I didn't know her daughter Danielle, and when I was in my master's program, I met her there, not knowing who she was, and honestly, she became my first friend there. So it was almost this full circle moment when I was wanting this opportunity. I just felt like it's where I was supposed to be, having been her student. And I saw firsthand the impact that Mrs. Cole had on our campus every single day. I can still remember the creed she did on the announcements every morning. Just so beautiful in that sense. Other reasons it's beautiful too, but insane because wow, do you take for granted the systems and structures that are already in place. You come to a new school and normally you're enhancing, tweaking, or building upon. And so build everything from the ground up. Holy cow. It was a great experience, but by far one of the most exhausting experiences.
And this is year 2?
That was my year 2 coming here.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you guys, how long has this school been open?
This is, so this is year 2 here. Sorry, I thought you were asking.
No, you're fine.
I was a second year AP opening last year. This is our second year.
So how many, what kind of tweaks have you guys made from last year to this year?
Gosh, that's a loaded question. I would say, I don't know if it's tweaks. We just have our systems in place and we're tweaking those systems. Everything from structures of student discipline to school committees, like things you just take for granted, PBIS that are already in place that you're tweaking, all of those systems now we are actually able to tweak and not build. But there's so many.
Kacy's being very modest right now. I can tell you from firsthand experience as the father of 2 daughters who attend Aurelia M. Cole Academy. Wow. First off, how beautiful the school is. Secondly, the fact that they have opened a K-8 with over 1,400 students. Wow. Just talk about the sheer size.
We're only supposed to have 700.
So talk about that and the challenge of opening the school with almost double the size, right? That's almost double the challenges.
It was insane. So we were anticipated originally around 700. We didn't even get into the building until a week before teachers got back on campus for pre-planning. So then we ended up at about 1,300 to start the school year almost. So we don't have enough textbooks because we weren't allocated. I mean, you name it. And so just the sheer size and hiring last minute to accommodate that, you want all of that done before summer, middle of summer for sure, but we're at the end of the summer having to last minute add additional allocations to make up for this growth. That part was insane.
That's wild.
But again, just shout out to you guys really going through that process seamlessly. And again, the opportunities that you have at Aurelia M. Cole Academy, outstanding, which is one of the reasons why we moved our 2 girls there.
Yeah.
So hold on, I got to ask more questions. Are you the K through 8 structure is very, you have your elementary school and a junior high at the same time, or middle school down there?
Yes.
How do you guys have separate administrations? Do you have separate, how do you factor all those things in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do. Last year there was only 3 assistant principals. We do have 4. So the way it's broken up is we have somebody over pre-K through kindergarten, so that early primary, and then a 1st through 3rd grade for elementary. And then between myself and another assistant principal, we're over 4 through 8.
Okay.
And so my role more so is the curriculum aspect for 4 through 8, and then she handles more of the discipline. But it is broken up, especially elementary. It's broken up by 2 different administrators as well.
Do you guys start serving lunch at like 9 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, you want to talk about a lunch
That's a great
schedule.
question.
Oh my gosh, it feels honestly 10:30. 10:30. They're probably hungry by the time they go home, because otherwise there's no way we'd get through it all.
That's wild. But those are the things you don't think about. We don't have K through 8. It's something that's down the road for Clay County, but it's just something you think about. Like, we have junior highs, which is 7th and 8th grade, and they're made to be smaller. And you're K through 6 with your elementaries. And I love having, like, my daughter's in 6th grade. I love that she's kind of separate from the 8th grade stuff that I've seen before. But
Honestly, that gave me such anxiety coming here of like, how do we have these 7th graders in the same building campus with these 2nd graders and 3rd, because I'm an elementary background.
Yeah.
And I was assured that it just works out, and it really does. It's actually quite beautiful. On any given day, you can walk into our media center and there's a 7th grader reading a book to a kindergartner. I mean,
I was going to say, that's got to be some mentorship opportunities.
Yes.
So what would you say are the perks of a K-8 school?
First of all, talk about building a relationship with your students. When you get the opportunity to see them from 5 years old until 8th grade, what a cool opportunity, that transformation you get to see with them and build that rapport and that relationship. I would say also just you get the best of both worlds. Even for our elementary folks who have only taught elementary, they're supporting our volleyball. They're at the volleyball games. We have 2 of our kindergarten teachers. They're our cheerleading coaches for middle school. They probably never in their wildest dreams envisioned that that's what they would be doing. So it's really just, and honestly, it's a really neat experience. And because of that, I can honestly say everybody, the sense you get if you were to walk our campus, everyone's just really excited to be here. Like, it's a very cool opportunity for both our students and our staff.
And I can tell you, you have built an amazing culture, the administrative staff at Aurelia Cole. So shout out to you guys for building that culture. So as we continue through the school year, what's a pro tip that you would give to an aspiring teacher who wants to get into administration? What would you say these are a few things that you should look to do on your campus?
Taking a particular subject area and leading them through that when you're in collaborative planning. There's just different opportunities, whether it's in the lane of discipline, just finding an area to which you believe in and you're passionate about, and pursuing that and providing opportunities to lead your team towards that. And I don't know if I answered that.
No, you absolutely answer that. No, really kind of find that niche of leadership as well and take advantage of those leadership opportunities. Can I tell you, you'll be so surprised, and I'm always surprised by hearing teachers that say they want to go into leadership without taking leadership opportunities on their campus. And it's like, how are you going to get into leadership without really diving into those leadership opportunities on your campus? This is actually a question for both of you, and this is my favorite part of Talking Shop is the fact that I get to hear from such amazing educators, and I get to steal best practices. So as we are going into week 3 or 4. Yes, that Insane Beautiful is awesome. So as we're going into week 3 or 4, depending on where you are in Florida, what professional development are you currently focusing on to support your school's vision? And that goes for each of you, and I'll kind of share mine as well, but I'm also taking ideas from you.
So I think it depends on the level of it. Like our first year teachers, we're classroom management. Trying to make sure they understand that you set those expectations, procedures now. I did several walkthroughs today where we're in social studies classes and we're looking at, okay, how do we adjust this new adaptive test and give these kids more opportunities to practice with that into what we're doing now? Because we've been very successful, but you don't have to suck to be better. So, looking at those kind of things, I think it just depends. You tailor it to the level of teacher, just like differentiating to the teacher, and then their experience level, and then what are we trying to get as far as the student outcome?
Absolutely. Kacy, what about you guys? What are you working on professional development-wise as I'm feverishly taking notes here?
Yeah, honestly, building that tier 1 instruction, we utilize the Lake County's district instructional framework for the best teaching practices, and just growing them in that their instructional practices. And that need varies depending on the grade level, depending on the teacher. But when, especially at our school, we've all come together from so many different experiences and places, just building that shared understanding of those instructional practices, providing appropriate professional development, and then providing feedback and helping them grow in those areas is really our number one priority.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. And again, I took down a lot of notes here. So I shout out to you guys for giving me those notes.
What are you guys working on down there at Leesburg?
Yeah, for us here at Leesburg, we're really working on how, over the first 3 weeks, we really worked on developing behavioral engagement. And Jenny last week talked about developing success criteria for that behavioral engagement. Now our goal is, how do we begin shifting from that behavioral engagement that we have to more of that cognitive engagement and effective engagement as well? So really starting, how do we transition the ownership of the work from our teachers to our students? So we're excited about the opportunity to have our Jacket University tomorrow, where we're really going to dive in deeper on what that looks like. First off, what's that success criteria for behavioral engagement? And then how do we take that behavioral engagement and that success and move it to more of that cognitive and effective engagement, so that our students are really engaging in that work? So thank you guys for sharing that with me. Kacy, last question that I have for you. What are your 5-year and 10-year goals? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 and 10 years?
Yeah, that's a really great question. 5 years, I would say I would like the opportunity to become a principal. Not necessarily in the next year or two, but I have to say, I currently, once again, I know I talked about my previous leaders, but am currently also working for somebody who is such a great example of strong leadership, and I am learning so much from Scott Boyko, who's the principal here. And so I honestly feel for the first time this year that that's something I can see myself doing in the near future within the next 5 years, because I want to make that same impact that all of these leaders have had on me. 10 years, I'm not sure. I love instruction and I love literacy so much, and so I don't know necessarily what that role would be, but if something in that arena came available to me, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure what, but that's really where my passion lies.
Well, Kacy, I can tell you from personal experience, my wife has had the opportunity to join the staff at Aurelia and Colin in an administrative standpoint. And you talked about servant leadership that you learned from Tiffany. And I can tell you that you have displayed servant leadership towards Megan along her journey and throughout her journey of transitioning into administration. So on behalf of the Randolph household, thank you just for displaying that servant leadership. And again, you are going to make an amazing administrator. So leadership in Lake County, I hope you're listening, right? We have a future principal right here on our hands. So
if not,
again,
Lake County is just a little bit up the road,
I was going to say, yeah, we got a few places, right? Again, when I said that Kacy is a thoroughbred Lake County, again, graduate from Lake County, born and raised here, this is where we're going to be. So again, shout out Kacy for, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it's our first day back from a long weekend, so I know that you probably had a million other things to do, but we really appreciate you joining us tonight on Talking Shop, a conversation with educational leaders.
I think it's really cool what you guys do with the early literacy, where you're going out and visiting those kids and getting in the community. That's so important. They're not getting that in every. It shouldn't be where you're born dictating what your future is. So I think that's super cool that you guys are doing that.
100%. I would say that would be my hill I would die on, is that a child's demographic or socioeconomic status, like, that does not define what opportunities or what their abilities are. And so access is step one So thank
Absolutely.
you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We often say here at Leesburg, Title I status, that only defines how some of our students eat. That does not define how our students learn at all. So shout out for you for leading that work and really making sure that early literacy is at the forefront. Because again, coming from 2 high school principals and now having the opportunity to really serve in that middle school capacity as well, you're seeing the importance of that early literacy,
100%.
especially in the later grades. So shout out to you for the work that you're doing with early literacy as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Tonight was Talking Shop, a conversation with educational leaders. My name is Mike Randolph. I'm the proud principal at the Leesburg High School, joined by my co-host Martin Aftuck, the proud principal of Middleburg High School. And we are so honored to have Mrs. Kacy Wolfe, whose lights just went off again. That's telling us. That's funny. That's telling us it's time to go home. So, yes, so again, we will take that hint and take that cue. So, on behalf of Talking
Good luck
Shop,
to you guys.
thank you.
Good luck to your teams this weekend.
Hey,
Good luck to
shout
both
out,
of
yes.
you.
Yes, good luck to Middleburg. Listen, I'm a Bronco at heart. So, again, I bleed red and black. So, again, go Bronco, go Broncos. And most importantly,
go Jackets.
go Jackets. Yes.